Hi folks. So this is in relation to your level 6 dissertation then. You probably don't know this, but I know that I've just seen a post where people are feeling stressed and concerned about level 6 teaching. At the moment then, the lecturers are still teaching and still dealing with students who have not completed assessments for level 5. So the level 5 is still ongoing. There are members of your cohort who have got to take and resit and take assessments. So that's still ongoing. And it's graduation for the offender managers tomorrow. So in the meantime, I know the lecturers, some have had leave. Myself, I've been working constantly dealing with administration in relation to people who are still yet to transition from level 5. There has been a meeting and there is going to be a new module leader for your dissertation, Lucy Poynton, who's in the criminology team. I myself then will try to alleviate your stress by going through what's going to be expected, because I don't want to see you stressed. So you've got a 30 credit dissertation module, which is an 8,000 word extended piece of research, which is similar to the piece of research you did on the research project. But your work will be split into usually 5 chapters. Now, traditionally, Keith Wharton and myself share the supervision of the dissertation. So when you do the dissertation, you're allocated a dissertation supervisor. Because of structural changes, I am the course leader for criminology and criminology in different strands of criminology, as well as offender management. So I am not the module leader for your dissertation. Now, obviously it's Lucy. It is not Keith. So Keith used to be the module leader, but Keith is actually part of the law school. He's part of the law department. We, on criminal justice with offender management, are part of the criminology department. So Keith is no longer the module leader because he's got his own commitment now in the law department. What will happen then is you will be, in September then, you will have to submit, September, October, probably going to be October, a proposal. That is in a similar way as you did to the report. So in the proposal, which will be submitted at the beginning of semester 1, you will set out what you want to conduct your research on. Then that will go to a meeting which will be chaired by Lucy Poynton, M. Templemont, myself, and the subjects will be then allocated to lecturers who have got the desired topics. So it might be, if you're doing a module on prisons, it could be myself or Arta. If you're doing something on policing, it could be Arta again, or it could be Mark Bushell. There's different people with different specialities. I'm not 100% sure whether Keith Wharton will be in that cohort of people to supervise. I'm not sure yet. But that doesn't really matter at the moment, because what's concerning you is what you're doing at the moment. Okay then. So in order to undertake your research, first of all, you need to choose whether you are going to do use primary evidence, like go out and interview people or observe things. Now, if you do this, you need to seek ethical approval, which is a form that needs to be filled in depending on how advanced or how significant impact you're going to have on people when you interview them. So victims of crime or victims or prisoners would require a full ethical form, which is a very complicated form which can go into the thousands. Now, if you've got a dissertation that's 8,000 words, and you have to submit a full ethics approval to go and interview people who were victims of a certain crime, or to interview people that are incarcerated or whatever, that could take 5,000 words to complete the form, in which case you might think, well, I'm writing 8,000, why would I write an extra 5,000 when I don't need to? So the first decision is whether you want to undertake a significant piece of work which may require you to do lots and lots of extra writing. If you don't, then you obviously won't have to submit quite an extended form. You can submit a smaller form. Say if you're interviewing staff members, then you would submit what's called a proportionate form, which may not be as wordy. And if you were just doing a normal piece of desktop or web-based research, then you would just have a disclaimer which you would sign to say, I'm not impacting anything, and it's just a signature. So you've got 3 types of forms depending on 3 pathways. I'll go back over that. First of all, where you're not impacting on anybody, you're not interviewing people, you are merely doing research, like some of you did in level 5, where you go onto the computer and you look at books, journal articles, government documents, and you write an 8,000 word dissertation based on reading. There's no ethics, or there's just a disclaimer. The next one, you are going to interview somebody, or you are going to conduct some field work, but it's with people that aren't vulnerable, members of staff. Then you would complete a proportionate form. It may be about 2,000 or 3,000 words. Then, if you're going for the full complicated package where you're going to interview victims of crime, or victims, or people incarcerated, or people who've just been released, then you would have to apply to do this with using a full ethics proposal, which goes to an ethics panel, and they decide whether you can do it or not. So even if you do the 5,000 or 6,000 words, it goes to the panel, they say no, you're not doing it, then that's it, you can't do it. So some of you may want to just play safe and stick to the first 2 options. That's that done. Right, the next thing is when you choose a topic, and then you just need to read it. You've got to read and read again. Research methods, read about how to construct a dissertation. I can sum this up for you. You've got roughly 5 chapters. So the first chapter is an introduction, which will be about 800 words. And in the introduction, it sets out in which order you're going to deal with your chapters, what the chapters are about, and give an allude to what the conclusion would be. It's 800 words. Obviously setting out what your topic is, how you intend to conduct the dissertation. Then talk about chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, and chapter 5. Or you can have more chapters, it's up to you. The next chapter, chapter 2 then, is a literature review. This is where you read about your topic and then you write a sort of a chronology, the history of the topic, leading the reader up to the current state of affairs, and including in that key themes, milestones, key legislation. That would probably be about 2,000 or 3,000 words. The next chapter would be a methodology chapter, chapter 3. This is in where you're going to explain your chosen methodology. So it might be interviews, it might be focus groups, it might be observations in the workplace, it might be questionnaires, could be a mixture, research methods basically. Or you may want to just describe a doctrinal study if you're looking at the law, criminal justice law. So whatever your chosen research method to conduct your dissertation, you would then write probably about 500 or 600 words in chapter 3 to explain what it is and why you've chosen yours. Because you might say, I had the opportunity to interview residents in an AP or residents in a custodial setting, but it was decided that it was too complex to seek ethical approval, and you've kept it at either interviewing staff or completing a desktop-based study. The next chapter 4 then, would be like a case study chapter where you've got to pick your topic, and within your topic there'll be some leading case or case studies or examples or stories which really do demonstrate some of the key themes and arguments that you're arguing in your dissertation. These could be, say for example, when we looked at the safety of children in the criminal justice sector and how children have been abused and isolated in secure training centres. It could be the case of Rainsbrook, it could be the case of Medway, different places or different prisons or different incidents. You know, it could be the death of Sarah Everard. Any large case which you think truly does demonstrate the key themes that you're talking about in your dissertation, and that could even take up to like 3,000 or 4,000 words. Then you've got a conclusion which is 800 words, and the conclusion is almost like a mirror image of the introduction. It pulls together all the key themes that you've talked about. Many of you know what I mean by this because you've done it in your report, but it's a chapter, 800 words, explaining picking out some key themes from the literature review, touch upon a bit about the research methodology used, if you have interviewed people, the effectiveness of the process, or if you've used a doctrinal study, some key cases, key academics that you've used, and then sort of provide an overview of what your dissertation finds or what it claims, like an end result. So going throughout the whole piece then, you'll be interjecting and including academic opinion. This can be in the form of books, edited books, journal articles, monographs, government documentation, YouTube. It can be anything really. Try not to rely on the media or press. The press will have got their information from a primary source, either a government documentation or a press release from a prison or one of the agencies within the criminal justice system. So you always need to go to the main source. You can use the media, but try not to use any of the tabloid press. It's not good enough, really, because they'll have copied that from the real sources. So in the literature review, in the case study, you want to include support from academic opinion, as you have done in the past. So you're going to support yourself with readings, key readings, and I'm just looking for examples. Materials then. An authored book. Some classic stuff here then. David Farrington's is a classic study. David Farrington, who is a very significant figure in research in criminology and the criminal justice system. He does a longitudinal study into juvenile delinquency. He's done many studies. If you go and Google Farrington, there's a wealth of information just from this one person. Similarly, with David Garland, Punishment in Modern Society. David Garland, again, a very influential character. When you write in your dissertation, you should ideally aim to include some world-leading academics. So these would include, like I said, David Garland, Farrington, Alison Lieblin, Ben Crew, John Deering. There's lots of these people, depending on which topic you choose. Barry Goldson, if it comes to juveniles. Tim Bateman, juveniles. So the different topics of the criminal justice system come with very specific academics that lead, and some of these are world leading. So the academic opinion needs to be weaved throughout. And then obviously, as you're going along, you're going to construct a significant reference list. So let's recap then. You're going to choose a topic that you're interested in that falls within the criminal justice sphere or criminological sphere. And you're going to aim to write just over 8,000 words. The 8,000 words then is going to be split into chapters. And I gave you a rough guide with 10% for the introduction and conclusion. And then the other chapters can be roughly split with about 500 words in chapter 3. And then chapters 2 and 4, and maybe 5, because you can have a chapter 5 in which you're just purely going to discuss academic opinion. There is flexibility with these. It's not cast in stone, they're just an ideal. You can divide the word count up between the remaining 3, so you could have like 2,000 on the lit review, 2,000 on a chapter 4, and 2,000 on a chapter 5, and then swap it around a bit. The important thing is not to write generic information. Like, I have seen dissertations in the past when it's like problems within the criminal justice system and it's just all over the place with different topics. So try and drill down onto something very specific, and then you can spend the summer period reading on that or gathering information. If you want to interview anybody that's from a vulnerable position, such as children, people who've been incarcerated and things like that, then you need to let me know, and then I'll send you in fact, I'll load them on. I'll put them onto, I'm trying to work on a SharePoint site for you guys where all this material will be on. It's a bit like a website, but again, it's very time consuming to do this. So you could contact me and say, listen, I want to do a full ethical thing, so can you help me with that? What you do need to bear in mind is this. You will be submitting the proposal at the beginning of semester 1, the first couple of weeks. So you've got some time to think about what you're going to do. Now, some of you, I can see some of you feel that you're having lack of support and guidance. Technically then, the teaching does start in September, and the handing for you will be something around the middle of May next year. So you're handing in May 2023. So you can sort of try and alleviate your stress levels because it is a long way off. In the past, I've suggested, and people have done this, that you do a lot of the reading and work now because you've got time on your hands. Although people haven't done this, and some people have not completed a dissertation because when they get into level 6, it's too much for them. So what I would do now then, having listened to this, is if you want to, you're going to choose a topic. You're going to read about the topic and gather information. Now, it's not a superficial read, it's a deep read, and collecting lots of journal articles, books, or chapters you can get from the library or wherever you can get them from online, the internet. The law trove is a good starting point. And you're going to gather all this information, you're going to read it. Then that will give you an idea of a topic that you want to write about and what exactly you want to say in the dissertation. So you might feel passionate about something, and you've got a claim to make, in which case you would go away and find people that are going to support your claim. What I'm going to do, I've already got your Blackboard site, although I am not the module leader. Lucy is the module leader. I am going to release the Blackboard site, so the information on there you'll be able to start reading through in relation to some of the things I've spoken about. Don't bother contacting Lucy because she'll say, listen, I don't even start teaching this until September, October, so don't bother talking to her. If you ask me about things I'll be able to give you as best guidance I can. But my guidance will be this. You're going to choose your topic. You have to read. It's not a taught session. You're not going to be taught the material for your dissertation unless you're on criminal justice and punishment and you do something that's like paedophile hunters or something that's in the curriculum. So the onus is very much on you, is to choose your thing and read about it, and then yes, you will have meetings with the supervisor and you'll discuss with your supervisor the most effective way to progress, the best, but the supervisor's not going to go and start reading about your topic and teach you that. It's not going to be that. You're very much self-taught, and you probably would be in a more knowledgeable position maybe than the actual supervisor. The supervisor's there to guide you through this process and say, well, I suggest you go and look at the books that cover this, or journal articles, and you might want to look at the British Journal of Criminology or Criminal Justice and Criminology. They're more like a guide, and they can sort of give you some feedback and look at what you've been doing and guide you. I personally would avoid a full ethics proposal because it's very complex. I have had one student do one, and it didn't take her that long, but it was 8,000 words. The actual form was 8,000 when she filled it in, and the actual dissertation was going to be 8,000. So she never did that in the end, but she would have ended up writing 16,000 words. I do not know who your supervisors will be at the moment, because they are allocated when teaching begins in October. But if you've got the bulk of your reading done and you've got the bulk of the work done, and you've sort of say to me, listen, Louis, I've done this, I've been working on this, then it's obviously going to be a lot easier, and the supervisor's going to think, well, that's brilliant. I mean, obviously the supervisor's going to be somebody that you know. It's either going to be me, Lucy, Arta, it could be Keith. It may be Keith as well involved, but Keith won't be sort of the main player like he has been in the past. So it could be James Treadwell, it could be Mark Bushell. These are people from the criminology team. So hopefully that may alleviate some of this perceived lack of support and guidance. And bearing in mind, the research and exam week for people is the 15th of August. So people are still in the process of trying to sort themselves out for their level 5 still. On a positive note, I today have been over to Dovegate Prison. I've rekindled my old contacts at Dovegate and arranged for a prison trip for you guys on the 28th, which is Wednesday the 28th of September in Welcome Week. That's a whole day. Going to Dovegate, meeting the prisoners in the therapeutic community, having a talk by somebody from the offender management unit, and going into the prison. So very, very positive. This is what I used to run before. So I know you haven't had any trips because of COVID, but now you'll be getting them back. So maybe that might cheer people up a bit. I am going on leave after today for 2 weeks, and then I'm back. When I'm back, you can feel free to email me or message me. It's an exam week on the 15th, but I haven't got too much marking to do. So if you want to do the reading, choose your topic. I mean, it's no good contacting me and said, can you give me a topic, or can you tell me what to read? It's not about that. You've got to come up with your own topic and your own sets of reading, and you can contact me and say, I'm doing this. Do you think it's good? And I'll say, have you drilled down into detail? Don't do a generic topic. Do something very specific. I'll also say, have you considered these areas to look into to find materials? The Law Trove is very good. It's free. Well, it's not free. You've obviously got it with your university contacts. And then you've got the library, and you've got different things online. So hopefully that's going to alleviate some of the stress and sense that you're not getting any support. It's not that. It's not your problem because obviously you've passed, if you're watching this, you've passed your level 5 and you've had a letter and now you're moving on. But a lot of people, it's not as easy as that, both on criminal justice and on criminology. There's people who've got like several assignments still outstanding and exams. But there we go. So I don't know. Keith is obviously not going to be the module leader, like I said. So if you do contact Keith and he gives you some advice, then that's down to Keith. That's on Keith's own goodwill. It's like a goodwill thing that he would do. Like I say, because for the other lecturers and the module leader, their teaching is starting in October. So if you went to somebody and said, "Oh, I'm not getting any support," and somebody would say, "What do you mean you're not getting any support?" Says, "Well, yeah, my dissertation." They'd say, "Hang on a minute, your dissertation starts in September and you hand it in May." So that's how the rest of the university would operate. So any queries then, you can message me, but if I'm on leave, I'm working in the garden, I might not get back like I normally do. But after, in August, then I'm on clearing. I'm doing the research and the referrals. I'm back in sort of the admin mode, so I will be getting straight back to you. Okay then, folks, hope that clears that up. Thank you.